Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventurers. I'm your guide, Jason. Sadly, when it comes to mythology, most people know only a few aspects. The big ones, Greco-Roman, Norse, and usually Chinese being the dominant versions. That means some very impressive monsters and demigods end up being forgotten. That includes some incredible ones like the Adlet. When we speak of other races in fantasy and mythology, you're probably thinking of things like dwarves and giants. And when it comes to Innuit mythology, they have those too, but theirs are a little different. You'll find them called the Innuit and the Tornets, respectively. Yet, they have another race, one which is more vicious than the others, a cannibalistic race that crosses the line into being a monster. They are said to be up to 8 feet, 2.4 meters tall, and all their encounters with humans ends in violence. They are the Adlet, the Dogman. You also see them called Adlet. They are said to have a human head, arms, and torso, but their legs are different. Their lower body is that of a dog. Now, I found two main descriptions here. In the first, it is just the hind legs and the tail, but some claim that it has 4 legs and a tail. So, either a dog-like satyr or dog-like centaur of sorts. Their fur tends to be reddish or brown, and they will often have sharp fangs in their mouth. In addition, most accounts speak of them possessing superior hearing and smell. And they have an origin story, one fit for a good horror movie. Sorry, some of these names are their own horror story. There was a girl named Nivaria Singh, who lived with her father, Savir Kwong. Now her father sought many suitors for his daughter, but she rejected them all, and earned the name Unugu Misutang, or she who would not take a husband. But she did fall in love. One day while walking, she was approached by a large dog with red spots and a hypnotic gaze, which then turned into a beautiful man who seduced her. His name is Ijirkwang. Yeah, a bit of bestiality going on. And from their union would come 10 children, 5 which were white dogs, and 5 more which were half human and half dog. Now the 10 children were loud and noisy. Their dog father was a lazy, no-good dog which wouldn't hunt. So it fell on the girl's father, who had to go out and hunt to bring in food. And he did so for a time. But between a freeloading dog for a son-in-law and a daughter that brought shame to the family, he finally had enough, and took the whole lot to a small barren island in the middle of the ocean. Now, he isn't a completely disgusting person, as he says that he will still provide food for them in the form of meat to eat. Except the no-good dog had to swim ashore to collect the food and bring it back to the family. For a while, the father did exactly that, but day after day, the father hunted and put the meat in sealskins for the dog to collect. And each time, the dog asked for more and more meat as the pups grew bigger. And finally, he had enough. When the dog came for his supplies, the man had filled the sealskins with rocks. Now, when he attempted to swim back to his family, he drowned. The daughter soon found out and sent her children to bite off her father's hands and feet. But he beat them off. The daughter tried to flee in her father's boat, but the father caught her and knocked her from the boat. She gripped the gunwales of the boat firmly, and her father took a knife to cut off her fingers. They would fall into the ocean and become whales, namely narwhals. When she fell into the water, she managed to swim to safety, but she lost one of her shoes in doing so. There, she would meet up with her defeated children, and she was forced to make a terrible decision. Taking off her last shoe, she placed it in the water, where it grew to the size of a small boat. She told her 5 dog-like children to jump into the boat and sail away to safety in the east. Now, there is a tale where these white dog children would go and eventually become the Nordic people, and would settle in the east. In time, they would return with gifts and marry the women of the tribe. But the 5 Adlet children were told to flee inland and fend for themselves. From them would come the race of Adlet, and it spurred them to become increasingly hostile to humans. As for the daughter, she was left alone to starve to death on the island, and nothing more is known about the father. There are other origin stories, and most of them follow similar tales of girls partaking in relationships with dogs, sometimes by force. For its biology, the two differences are going to be different. The simplest is the bipedal version, since both dogs and humans are both mammals, they share the same number of bones and muscles. For the most part, we can switch out the human limbs and hips with that of the dog after adjusting for the size. With the four-legged version, it takes a bit more work. Of course, it's simple in concept to attach a human torso to where a dog's head is. The difficulty comes with lining up the muscles and torso. Yet the internal organs are completely different. We could keep the lungs in the human torso and leave the digestive tract in the dog's section. Yet, it's the improved sense of hearing and smell which could provide an issue. For a dog, their senses are the result of how their head is shaped and the density of the olfactory receptors in the nose, and a similar situation for the ears. But there is a workaround. If we keep the human head, we can instead rely on a larger size. This thing is usually up to 2 feet taller than a human, and that means a larger head. This can also help with the biting strength. It is said that it has sharp teeth, but due to the human-like head, that would normally reduce the biting strength, so it is possible that their bite won't be breaking bones, but will still do plenty of damage to the flesh. The Adlet is well known to be dangerous to humans. They will prey and devour humans, and even eat their own. So let's make sure that you don't end up joining their dinner. Their bites may not be as strong as a wolf or a dog, but it will hurt. And there is a high chance that its bites will be infectious and dangerous. Potentially, they could be as bad as poison due to the volume of bacteria. Yet I doubt they would be relying on biting to kill. The Adlet is smart, at least on par with a human, and that means that they can use weapons. So, what we have here is a foe which is bigger and stronger than you, and can use weapons. That's going to be difficult. Yet, there might be a few weaknesses, if you have the bipedal version. The dog-like legs might be less stable. In addition, they may lack as much muscle. Dogs are sprinters, not marathon runners. This means that if you can outrun and invade, you should be able to outpace them. Play the long game. The real issue will come when they come in numbers. They are documented using pack tactics. This means that they may be coming at you in numbers. If you see one, expect others to come from the sides. How large a pack? I don't know. But if you are any kind of decent adventurer, you have your own party with you. Take defensive positions that lets you watch from all sides. A straight up brawl is going to be difficult. You will need to use skills in this fight. Technique is your friend. As for weapons, all of them seem to be solid, though I would choose a bow and arrow over a sword. Range will help to deal with its superior strength, but magic is going to be important. While it isn't listed having any particular weaknesses, I would still choose these spells. Lightning can offer speed, and since this is a creature of the cold north, fire is going to be potent. Ice can immobilize it, but I don't think it would be worth it. This is a creature which grew up on the ice, so to speak. I don't think it's going to slip too easy. Yet, there are other spells which might help. If it does have a better sense of smell, either an item or a spell for something that smells foul and rancid can be useful. Since you are blessed with the inferior sense of smell of a human, it wouldn't be a problem for you. Ha! Never bet you'd be glad not to have enhanced senses. The sense of hearing might be harder to exploit. Defense is another story. Without weapons, we are dealing with fangs and claws. Those can be stopped by gambeson, chainmail, or plate armor, so take your pick. But if it does use a weapon, I would choose my armor according to what it is using. The best option is going to be plate. Best to be overly cautious, right? Now, while it isn't mentioned specifically, they could be spellcasters. It is a common trope in fantasy that all races have magic, is it not? Be ready for it. Overall, the Adlet is going to be a difficult fight. It is superior to you in every way. Speed, strength, sense of smell, hearing, and so on. Whether the 4-legged or 2-legged versions won't matter too much overall. I'm going to give the Adlet a 4 of 10 for difficulty. While they are fierce, most tales about them claim that the human does win in the end, so your odds aren't terrible. You just can't be stupid here. While the Adlet is a terrifying foe, you can defeat it. And if you do, there's a few things to gain. It does have fur, which can be used to make cloth. In addition, you can tan the hide. And the same goes for the meat of the body. Of course, I'll leave the debate about using sentient creatures' bodies up to you. But they are said to have a civilization. They have artisans, craftsmen, and laborers of their own. As to what sort of crafts they can produce, it is unclear. Due to the climate that they live in, I would assume that they make clothes and potentially armor of their own. Then we have their weapons, so all of those are good things you can use. Yet, can we trade for them? Well, they are said to be violent and aggressive towards humans, and that will make it nearly impossible to get a conversation going. But if you could disguise yourself, the problem would be hiding your scent as food. So, if you can overcome that, you can gain access to their creations. It is difficult, but potentially possible. And the same can be said about having one as an ally. Yet, they are incredibly powerful and can be a great asset. All that speed and strength can do a lot in a fight. As to what role they might serve, it would depend on the individual. The Adlet is a nice addition to the mythical races of mythology. It is one that I wish we would see more often in different settings. They are aggressive, yes, but no worse than orcs or goblins. They could work. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time. Until then, I'll see you on the road.